Welcome, families. I'm Dr. Annie Tucci, 612 Humanities Supervisor.
And I'm Jennifer Fostoli, Principal at East Ridge Middle School.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jeff Corbishley. I'm the 612 Math and Science Supervisor here for the Ridgefield Public Schools.
This video is to share information about iReady Universal Screeners for reading and mathematics at the middle school level. We will highlight the purpose of the diagnostic, how it works, what it assesses, accessing and understanding your child's results, and how to support your student.
The iReady assessment is an adaptive assessment that meets the individual needs of our students. Questions are adapted based on student response. The purpose of this assessment is to support student growth through responsive teaching, not for a grade.
So an adaptive test means that all students will receive questions that they find difficult, some questions that they will find easy, and some questions that are just right for their current level of standard mastery. So on the next slide, this is a good way to show how the adaptive diagnostic works. So on the left-hand side are represented grade level standards, grades K through 12. So as a student begins receiving questions at a specific grade level, they answer the questions correctly, the diagnostic will give them a slightly harder question, typically addressing a standard taught later in a grade level or at a higher grade level. If a student answers the question incorrectly, so if you notice the red dot on your screen, the diagnostic will give a slightly easier question. And this process will continue throughout the diagnostic until the student reaches questions that describe their actual performance level. Now, in order for the assessment to find this just right level, a student needs to actually answer 50% of the questions correct and 50% of the questions incorrectly. Now, this is a unique attribute of an assessment, but it allows the diagnostic to place a student at that right placement level with a high percentage of confidence. So as you see an iReady report, these can be found in PowerSchool, and Dr. Tucci will show you how to access that later in the video. But this is a sample of how you can interpret your student results. So you're able to access your child's report through the parent portal in PowerSchool. Directions on how to access are sent home from the school. They're posted on our website, on the parent curriculum site, and Dr. Tucci said will navigate to that at the end of this presentation. But before we go there, we wanted to give an overview of how to read your child's results. So on the screen, you'll notice that there are blue bars. Now, a blue bar represents where a student is currently placed, that just right placement level. The green shading represents the grade level range for a particular student. So for example, if a student is in 7th grade, the green shading represents the standards levels for a 7th grade student. In addition, you'll notice that there's a national norm percentile, and that number represents how a student performed in relation to students within the same grade level across the entire nation. Now, for the fall diagnostic, there is only going to be a single blue bar. Now, as a student takes the winter and spring diagnostics, additional bars will show. So in this example, you'll notice that this represents 3 different diagnostics given in fall, winter, and spring. That's why there are 3 blue bars. So what this will allow you to do is to track growth over time, both in comparison to how they performed on their last diagnostic and how they're meeting the grade level standards represented within the green shading. The other thing to note in this graphic is there are specific placement levels and domains, which we will describe in more detail on the next slide.
So the placement levels may be described in the following ways. You may see the term tested out, needs improvement, approaching grade with a number, at grade with a number. So for example, grade 7, above grade, or max score. So a needs improvement score means that a student had some questions that they may need improvement on in previous grade level standards. And that is a point of reflection and a way to inform you to reach out to your child's teacher for ideas to support. Approaching grade level means that the student is ready to learn current grade level standards when they have this score on their fall reports. At grade level, your student is showing mastery of current grade level standards. Above grade level, if you see an indication of an above grade level, your child's experience showed that they answered questions related to standards above grade level, and they were able to answer those questions accurately. I wanted to go back and talk about tested out and max score. So a tested out indication means that they did not receive questions related to a specific domain. You may see this on the reading report specifically. A max score, if your child received a max score, the student received questions related to the maximum grade level questions for that domain. So if you have questions related to this, you can also reach out to your child's teacher. The reading assessment domains are broken up into several categories: phonological awareness, phonics, high frequency words, vocabulary, comprehension overall, and then it's broken down for literature and informational text. Phonological awareness, phonics, and high frequency words are early reading standards. So we include these on the upper grade levels as a subtest within the reading assessment. So many students will see a tested out, meaning that they did not receive questions related to this particular subtest. A max score in this section means that your child took the subtest and received a high score. For vocabulary is being able to name the words that students know in that domain, and comprehension. The overall score and the placement is derived from all reading comprehension items that the students see on the diagnostic for reading, for literature, and informational text. This score describes both fiction and nonfiction texts, and it can help educators understand a student's general comprehension strength and instructional priorities.
So for the math assessment, there are 4 specific domains that we do assess: number and operations, algebraic thinking, measurement and data, and geometry. So on your child's report, you'll notice that each domain where it says overall, it's one of those 4 domains, and then the placement level is to the right. So to specifically talk about the domains, number and operations represents K-8 standards that deal with the 4 operations: adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. And students will be exposed to a variety of different types of numbers, including whole numbers, decimals, fractions, integers, and irrational numbers, again, if they get to those specific grade level standards. Algebraic thinking in K-8 refers to really seeing patterns, understanding the meaning of the 4 operations, and using symbols to write and solve equations in order to solve word problems. These do extend into the high school as well. And in the high school level, algebra topics use functions, equations, and inequalities. And the idea is to really extend beyond basic operations within the real number system. Measurement and data represents K-8 standards, and that's really about collecting, organizing, and interpreting numerical information. And it could be anywhere from telling time or using a ruler to measuring the length of an object, or using formulas to find volume or surface area. Students will be exposed to tables, graphs, and in the later grade level standards, specifically statistics and probability questions. Geometry in K-8 refers to the skills of analyzing 2- and 3-dimensional shapes. So this could include classifying shapes and looking at characteristics such as symmetry, number of sides, the angle measures. And in those later grades, they'll start getting questions related to congruence and similarity. These questions, again, could extend into high school level standards as well. And at the high school level standards, it's much more about spatial geometric reasoning, connecting properties and equations. There's some proofwriting questions potentially, as well as using statistics and probability concepts to analyze the data. So at the bottom of your student report, again, that is posted within PowerSchool, there is a table entitled Skills, Progress, and More Information. So here is where you can find out exactly what may, quote, need improvement, or quote, approaching grade level might mean. It will list specifically what your child has mastered and what they are ready to learn next in the context of the grade level standard progression, which is how our RPS curriculum is organized.
Students don't need to explicitly prepare for this assessment. They prepare every day when they engage in learning through their classes. These are some of the typical questions that we may get from students about the assessment, and you may get them too. For why am I taking the test and what is the test like, we discuss the adaptive nature that Mr. Corbishley described earlier, and that the purpose is to truly support responsive teaching to help students grow. Students may even see specific lessons designed based on trends analyzed. For what if I don't know the answer? We encourage our students to try their best and emphasize that students will not get every answer correct, nor should they. For any other questions you may get, focusing on the purpose of the assessment and your child's growth journey is always a good starting point. Here are some ways to support your child. Celebrate their strengths and progress, and collaborate with them on planning how they will reach their goals. Ask your student's teacher for additional insight into your child's progress and for ideas and resources to support your students' learning at home. Remind them to try their best and to remember that it is adaptive. They won't know every answer, and that's okay. When you see the communication come home regarding the assessment dates, make sure your child has a good night's sleep and remind them about the purpose of the diagnostic test.
So now I'm going to navigate us to our RPS curriculum webpage to be able to highlight how to access this information for future reference. So if you go to our Ridgefield Public Schools site, the RPS curriculum site is posted right here. And we have our Engage page where all of our previous presentations are housed and future presentations will be saved. If you scroll down, you will see information for the standardized and universal screener assessment information. To access your child's score reports is located at the bottom of the page. The middle school universal screener information related to iReady reading and mathematics. There's information for 4 families reports and how to read those reports that we highlighted in today's video. And there's also further information on the domains for mathematics and reading. Later this week, the video that we are recording right now will be posted here. So we thank you all so much for your time in joining with us and partnering with us to support your child's growth.